Okay, so this is going to be a video that you can follow along with if you want to about how to create a basic budget in Google Sheets. So Google Sheets is very similar to Microsoft Excel, but Google Sheets is internet based, or what they might call cloud based, which means that it's kind of stored in your Google account. So your Gmail account or your Google Drive account, those are all sort of the same thing and are connected. So what you'll do is you'll just open up whichever internet browser that you use, whether that's Google Chrome, Internet Explorer, Firefox, Safari, anything like that, and you'll just go to google.com. It'll bring you here. And we're going to move toward the right side, and we're going to look for these 9 tiny squares that make up one larger square, or 9 dots, however it may look on your screen. I'm going to click on that. And usually what we would do is we'd go into Gmail or into Drive. But if you scroll down, hopefully, you will see something that says Sheets. So these are Google Sheets. So it's that green icon, and I'm actually just going to click directly on that. Now it'll probably ask you for your Gmail account, and you would have to type that in. Since I was previously signed in, it's kind of remembered the name there, so I'm just going to have to click on that instead of typing it in, but then I'll have to still put in my password. So I'll do that, and then next. Should take me directly into Google Sheets. So this is it. Again, it kind of looks a little bit similar to Excel, but also a little bit different. We don't have that same kind of ribbon the way that Microsoft Excel has. We just have a series of icons, and then we have our kind of drop-down menus up here as well. So we can see that the blue outline kind of indicates which cell we are in. If we're highlighting multiple cells, click and hold and then drags, and it kind of makes that light blue. So that's kind of our highlight, and then we'll see that darker blue border for when we're done highlighting. So I'm going to click out of that. And when you're thinking about a budget, whether it's maybe a budget for an event, a party or something like that, or just a monthly budget, we want to think about what information we need in our budget. So since I'm just going to be doing a monthly budget, I know that something that I'm going to need is expenses, right? So where do I think my money might be going this month? It's going to be expenses. And let's say, okay, so we've got an expense, maybe it's rent or mortgage. Maybe we've got our electric, any gas bill, water, phone, TV, kind of whatever expenses. You can keep going as as long as you need to. There's endless numbers of cells, so you can have 25, 50, whatever expenses that you need. You can just keep on going. I'm not gonna do every single expense. We're just gonna do some really basic ones there to keep it short. Now, I want to leave column B blank because that's where I'm going to put in the amounts that go with each of those, right? So again, I know I'm in column B because here's B. So that means all of this. And actually, if you come right on top of the B and click, it will highlight that entire column all the way down to row 500, 1,000, whatever it is. It will do the whole column. Okay, so I'm going to go over here, and in C1, what else do I want to think about when I'm doing a budget? So it can just be just your expenses, but it may also be helpful to think about not just what money is going out of our pockets, but also what money is coming in, so our income. So I'm going to put that there, and let's say I have 2 jobs. I've got job 1 I've got job 2, and let's say I sell something on eBay, or maybe I sell random odds and ends on Craigslist, and that may be some income for this month as well. Okay, so I've got my income there. Next, so I'm going to go back to column B, so the column right here, and I'm going to start filling in what I think it might be. So let's say I'm just going to put in random numbers. Okay, so got that all filled up. So these are my expenses. Now I can also name this column with my expenses. You don't have to put a title here or anything, but I'm just going to put in estimated expenses. Okay, and then I'm going to come over here to column D. So in cell D1, I can do the same thing. I can do estimated income. Again, you don't have to title, you don't have to put anything in where estimated income is. You could just put in the amount. So let's say I'm going to make $500 at job 1 and $900, and maybe I sell something for 20 and something for 30 on Craigslist. So we've got that. Now we see our numbers here. You know, they just kind of look plain, but and I could type in a dollar sign and all of that, but I want Google Sheets to do a little bit of work for me, and because that's the nice thing about Google Sheets. So what I'm actually going to do, since all of column B, right, this entire column, it's all going to be expenses, so it's all going to be dollar amounts. So I want the dollar sign in there, and I would also like to have it put in kind of the spaces for any cents, so $1.50 or whatever it may be. I want it to put in those spaces. So I'm going to highlight the entire column. So again, I just went up here, I clicked right on top of B, and it highlights entire column B all the way down to row 1000, 2000, whatever. It just keeps on going. And then I'm going to move up into my toolbar, and I'm going to look for a dollar sign. So you can see here that I didn't even click on anything. I'm just moving my mouse over it and it says format as currency. I'm going to click right on top of this dollar sign, and then you'll see it automatically puts that dollar sign in there and the cents at the back. All right, so that's highlighted, so I'm going to click out of that, any cell you want to, and I'm going to do the same thing for my estimated income. So I'm going to click right on top of the column that I want, and again, it's all of this column. I'm going to go do the same thing. I'm going to move into my toolbar, dollar sign, format as currency, and it does the work for me. Now thinking about what we want in our budget, we could, pull out a calculator and do all these calculations by hand, blah, 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 but why do that when we can have the computer have Google Sheets do the work for us? So you can leave as many spaces. Let's say you might have some unexpected expenses and we just want to leave some blank spaces so that we have room to fill stuff in. So I'm going to come down to, let's say I'll leave this many blanks. And again, you can scroll down and, put as many expenses in there as you want, but just for the sake of time, I'm going to say, all right, I don't expect that many more expenses, so I'm even going to do 15. Now for this, I'm just going to type in total expenses, okay? And here, I'm going to ask Google Sheets to add up all of my expenses here. I want it to do all the math for me. So in order to kind of prepare Google Sheets to get ready to accept a formula, I need to use the equal sign. So that says, hey, Google Sheets, get ready. I'm going to do a formula. Pay attention. So equal sign. And then what do I want to do? So for this, we're actually going to be doing sum. We're going to sum up all of these. So I'm actually going to type in SUM for sum. All this other stuff you'll see kind of starts popping up. I'm just going to ignore it. Now I'm going to open up a parentheses, And this is where I'm going to tell it, all right, I want you to start looking at this number, and I'm going to tell you to stop looking, stop adding up at this number. So what's my first amount? So the first thing is rent and mortgage, and what cell is that in? I'm in column B, I'm in row 2, so B2. So I'm going to type in B2. All right, so it says, hey Google Sheets, start adding stuff up, starting in cell B2. And then I'm going to say all the way, so from B2 to, I'm going to put in a colon, very important. And then where do I want it to stop adding up? So I could say here at $100, but no. Maybe I have some unexpected expenses that month. So I'm actually going to go all the way down to this blank one right here. Because let's say I want to fill something in later. I don't want to have to redo the formula. So I'm going to say, all right, I need you to look in all of these spaces, even if they're blank. So what is this cell? We're in column B, and we're in row 14. So it's B14. You'll notice as soon as I type that in, it highlights it in yellow saying, oh, do you mean this whole amount? Are you sure you want me to add up all of this? I'm going to say yes. I'm going to close my parentheses. Okay, it's now got it outlined. You see that kind of dashed yellow saying, are you sure this is what you want? And I say, yep, still that area. I'm going to look down at my keyboard. I'm going to hit the enter button or the return button, and ta-da! It has added up all of this for me. Okay, so if I click right on top of this, and then if you look up in your formula bar, we can see our formula. So hopefully you won't ever accidentally delete that out, because then you'll have to just type in your formula again. It's not a big deal. You can always hit your undo button up here in case you accidentally delete out your formula, but this is not something you'll ever have to change, right? Because it's a formula. Anytime you change something here, so let's say my car is 0, it will automatically update down here, so you should never have to change that. Now I'm going to come over here. I'm going to do the same thing for my income. So I'm going to say total income. Okay, I'm going to move over here. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to say, hey, Google Sheets, get ready for a formula. So I'm going to put in an equal sign. Okay, so that says, hey, I'm going to do a formula. We're going to do the same thing, sum. I'm going to open up my parentheses. Now, where do we want to start? What cell is this? D2. D2. From D2 all the way to what? I put in my colon. All the way to this one down here, which is D14. D14. It says, oh, do you mean these? Are you sure? I'm going to close my parentheses. It says, are you really sure? Yes, I am. I'm going to look down at my keyboard. I'm going to hit the enter or return button, and it's going to do that work for me. Now, so we've got Google Sheets doing work for us as far as total expenses, total income, but what else might be nice? So we know how much we might be spending and how much is, we hope to bring in that month. But something else that may be helpful, and we can just ask this in a question, is how much is left? Okay, so after everything, are we saving money? Or if we're not saving money, how far over our budget are we? Now this is going to be another formula, but it's actually a much easier formula, probably much easier than you think it's going to be. So again, for Google Sheets, if we were telling it to pay attention because we're about to do a formula, what am I putting in? I'm going to put in an equal sign. So that says, Google Sheets, get ready, you're going to do some work. So equal sign. Now what am I trying to figure out? What am I subtracting? So I want to take my income and I want to say how much is left after expenses. So income, right now, according to what I have here, I can always add in more. I got all these blank spaces, but right now it's this. What cell is my 1450, or it's my formula. There's another formula here, but what cell is this? So D15, and I actually just clicked on it and it just put it in. So That's also helpful. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to put in a minus sign, right? I want to take my income. What do I want to subtract it from? Yeah, I want my expenses to be subtracted from my income. So I'm going to click here. So this is cell B15. All right, so it's got it highlighted there. Are you sure you want to take your income and subtract your expenses here? I'm sure. I'm going to look down at my keyboard. I'm going to hit enter/return. And there we go. How much is left? This is how much I have left. Now, what does it look like if I spend more than I earn? I'm going to come back up here. I'm just going to wipe this out. I'm going to put in a 0 so you can see. So when I took out that, it just puts a minus sign in front. So that means how much is left? Well, minus 470. That means I overspent by $470. Now, something else with Google Sheets that may be helpful is kind of having some fun formatting things. So when I say formatting, it could mean, all right, let's say I want to, I'm just going to highlight my top 4. So I'm not highlighting up here, I'm just highlighting A1 over. Okay, so we see that kind of blue outline. I'm going to move up into my toolbar. My font size just means the size of my lettering. Maybe I want to make that bigger. Maybe I want to come over here and I want to bold it. And if I move over here to the A with that kind of black bar below it, that means kind of like the color of the text, so the color of that A. If I click on that, I get this drop-down menu. And maybe I want to turn it green. So that can kind of just be a fun way to highlight different things. I can always come back up here to my arrow pointing to the left, which is my undo, and I will undo the last thing that I did, or I can just keep undoing. So that's back to normal. Now, something else that you can do is maybe you want to separate your expenses from your income, just kind of visually, very quickly see the difference. So I could just kind of highlight here. I'm just clicking and dragging all the way, because remember we had our formula to go all the way to these empty spaces in case we want to fill those in later. So I've got that highlighted, and next to our text color, you'll see this little, it's supposed to be a paint bucket, and it's called fill color. It will fill in the background. So let's say for expenses, I want it all to be a light green. I can do that. I'm going to click out there because that's still highlighted. And let's say I want my income to be a different color. I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to go back up to this little paint bucket. And let's say I want to do a really light blue. I'm going to click that. And that'll kind of visually separate it for you. And again, I can come back up here and I can make these bold, and I can make them a little bit bigger as well. Now another thing, because remember, everything down here are total expenses, total income, and how much is left. These are all formulas, so you should never really be changing or deleting anything out here, because if you delete a formula out, you'll just have to put it back in. These are all set to automatically change, so if I put in zeros as you go. All right, my income's down to 0. I'm going to go back up here, 0. I'm just going to keep typing, 0. So now everything's 0. So again, we should never really need to delete those out. If you do, it's not a big deal. You'll either have to just put in the formulas again, or you can simply go up into your toolbar if you accidentally delete it and do your click on the undo. So if I want a little reminder not to delete any of these, I can always highlight it. And maybe I'll change my text color to red, and maybe I'll do my fill color a light yellow, so that just kind of separates it out there. So you can kind of have fun formatting, the text color or the fill color, which is kind of the background of that, or you can always bold, underline. You can change the size, and you can even change how your letters look by changing the font there. Okay, so before we close this out, I'm going to go up to the top left where it says Untitled Spreadsheet. I'm just going to click once and it highlights it all. I'm going to backspace, so delete that out. And I'm just going to name this. So 2020 budget. Okay. And I'm just going to click out over here, just a random place. So it's up there, stays there. And down here toward the bottom, we see Sheet 1. Now we can rename this. I'm going to do a quick double tap. So click, click, and then I'm going to type in, let's see, that's for January, and I'm going to click out. Now, you can see this tiny little down arrow. I'm going to click on that. You can say duplicate. So I'm going to click on that. And then it says copy of January. All right, so I'm going to do another double tap. So 2 fast clicks. 1, 2, click, click. All right. I'm going to type in February. I'm going to move my mouse and just click out into any cell, doesn't matter. I'm going to move back in here. I'm going to click duplicate. We got another copy of February. Again, quick double tap, click, click, March, click out. So you can basically keep doing this, and because we zeroed everything out, we're basically starting anew every single time. So whether I'm in March, January, it's all because we've zeroed it out. It's all just making copies of this. If you started in January and you didn't put all the zeros in, that's fine. You'll just have to every month put in zeros for that. So I'm going to go duplicate, copy of March, what comes after March, April. I'm going to click out, down arrow, duplicate, double click, May, click out. And you can keep going all the way to December or wherever you want to go. Something important to kind of think about is think of all the tabs down here, so January, February, March, April, May. Think of these as sheets within a book, so pages within a book. And then what is our kind of book called? It's called 2020 Budget. So it's not like this one's named May and it's its own file, this one's named April and its own file. No, these are all just kind of pages within a book, and our book's name is 2020 Budget. Okay, so I can go back to January, and you can start putting everything in. So that is hopefully a way that you can create your own budget for whether it's a monthly budget or it could just be a budget for an event or a party or something, whatever you might need a budget for. If you have any questions, just let me know. All right, thank you.